Е, Привіт всім, доброго вечора. Я вітаю нашу віртуальну аудиторію на 13-му міжнародному кінофестивалі короткометражних фільмів Wiz-Art. Це частина Wiz-Art Lab, де ми вже протягом 6 днів цього фестивалю спілкуємося з режисерами, представниками кіноіндустрії, про тонкощі їхньої роботи, дискутуємо і так далі. Сьогодні я маю дуже велику приємність представити і також поговорити з румунським режисером Богданом Мурешану. Богдан є режисером, сценаристом, продюсером. Його фільм, я думаю, що українська аудиторія дуже добре знає, оскільки минулого року на 12-му Wiz-Art фільм «Подарунок на Різдво» Christmas Gift Богдана Мурешану отримав Grand-прі. Цей фільм також отримав понад 50 нагород на інших міжнародних фестивалях. І також був визнаний найкращим короткометражним фільмом 2019 року Європейською кіноакадемією. Ретроспективу фільмів Богдана Мурешану ви можете переглянути від сьогодні і наступні дні, доки триває фестиваль, на нашій платформі Big Short онлайн. Це фільми «Наполовину поголений», «Році», «Спід», власне, «Різдвяний подарунок», який минулого року переміг на Wiz-Art, а також новий фільм Богдана, який називається «Карусель. Merry-go-round». Тож, ми починаємо. Робоча мова нашого ефіру англійська. So, Bogdan, we will start our talk. So, it's the great pleasure to have you here at the Wiz-Art. It's a pity that we are just online and you couldn't come here to the festival. Also, I forgot to mention to our audience that you are also in the international competition jury this year at the Wiz-Art.
So it's a pleasure to be online, sorry, and I would love very much to be offline one day and Wiz-Art, especially that last year was such a pleasant surprise for our team to win the Grand Prix. And this year was also an opportunity to see loads of good films as a jury member.
We all are intrigued about tomorrow's awards, so we will know who won at the international and also national competition at the Wiz-Art. So maybe I will start with very general question, and I will ask you to introduce you to our audience and maybe to ask you about your first film experience that you had. I mean, like maybe in the childhood, how do you, like your first encounter with the films, how it was and how it happened?
Yes, it's funny that a journalist asked me recently this question, and I had to bring back a memory. And it was actually a cartoon, really. It was a building here, which is now derelict. It's almost ruined because of these cinemas in the malls. And now this building is ruined, but it's still beautiful, still erect. And it is there that I entered first time when I was a child in a cinema hall, and I saw Popeye the Sailor Man. And, so that was, let's say, I remember vividly this big, huge. I thought it was a huge TV, but it was a cinema screen. Mm-hmm. But I was a child, yes.
Mm-hmm. And then later, what is your film experience like during your years?
Oh, then I was recently talking about, of course, my father was a huge fan of Fellini and also Abdulaziz. He was really enjoying this film. So sort of I had to watch them, like Amarcord or Repentance. Yes, but of course I was too small as a child to fully understand, for instance, what repentance is about. I knew that is an important film, but I didn't quite dig it when I was that young. Yes.
So, like, correct me, please, if I'm wrong, but as I understand, you came to the cinema as a director. In the role of director, you came like maybe lately as for the cinema. So you have not like the education in any cinema
Yes.
school, as I understand. So you came from the different background. So
Yes.
as you know, you came
Yes.
from the literature. So.
Yeah.
Please tell us more about your background, because like
Yes.
it feels like in your scripts and in the films that you have this very good understanding of dynamic of the story.
Yes, I don't know what's the reason, but I was more attracted to books, probably because of my father being attracted to films more than books. I had to do it the other way. And so I was reading lots of books, and I tried to be a writer. And I think I was a short novel writer. And so this is how I started. And then I worked as a journalist. So all my life I was somehow writing for a living. And then, I don't know, later on I wrote the first script, and it turned to be successful in a script festival. So and then I started. I think it's natural. I don't think that this is a healthy distinction between literature, cinema, music. I think you have to enter the world of cinema somehow. It's either through storytelling or either through visuals, like a director of photography, photographer, painter maybe, or a musician, or even an engineer. There are so many cases. It doesn't really matter. It's just storytelling, but with different means. So, but let's say that my first love wasn't exactly cinema when I was really young.
And this your first script that brought you to the cinema, it wasn't planned, as I understand. So you were just like trying yourself in the script writing, and then shot the film.
Yeah, I had this idea, and then I just opened a few scripts to see how it's was the deal with writing scripts, and then I wrote it, and I remember that I was completely dissatisfied with the result, but still I sent it, and I was surprised, very much pleasantly surprised to find out that I was in the competition, and later on, even the script even got the award. So yes.
So, but you mean the film Half-Shaped, yeah?
No, that's not. To tell the truth, it's Speed is based on the first script I wrote, which was called The Human Torch.
So, but your first debut as a film, it was like Half-Shaped, yes?
Yes, as a director, yes, it's true. Yes.
So, talking about this Half-Shaped, it's like very like clever film. You have like very nice production design, very nice story, and it's very like I don't know. It's very good film as for the debut for the director. So maybe tell us about your team and how it happened when you shot this film.
Okay, so I wrote it actually for a friend of mine, for a director, but who was busy at the time, and I wrote it with having in mind this great actor, which is actually in the film. His name is Victor Rebenjuk, is one of Romania's most well-known actors and most experienced, actually a lovely human being as well, from a moral point of view. So that's why I chose him, not only because he was a good actor, but because he was a moral standard for during communism. So and this Victor Rebenjuk told me that okay, I'll do it, but I have just a couple of months to do it. Then I will be busy. So I had to jump in the water and swim. I had to do it because I wanted not to skip this opportunity, you know. So I just called some friends that I knew they had a lot of more experience in films, which is actually, at the time I was a bit unaware, but most of the directors of photography, they tend to have a lot more experience than the directors because they work a lot. So much more than we could ever do, of course, because we have to prepare projects and get finance and so on and so forth. So I spoke with Barbu Balashoyu, who was already experienced in filmmaking, and we decided to make it. And it took us only 1 day and a half, which I think it was a mistake to tell the truth. I think that I was so inexperienced back then that I was satisfied with the result instead of shooting more and play more with the opportunity to have a great actor. Mm-hmm. But the film turned out to be well received in the world. So yeah, you know, when you do something good, it's natural to persist, I think.
Mm-hmm. So when you are reading the book, when we are talking about the literature, you have like to imagine everything that you are reading, and then when you are working with the script, and then as a director, so you have to imagine it and then to direct it on when the like people are playing and so on. So how it was this first experience as a director, like communication in the team and everything? So.
Yes. I think that the first film, this Half-Shaped, I think that I was still a scriptwriter. You can see that I was a scriptwriter, not a director. In what sense? I really, the script, it was so important to me that I didn't change that much in the script. But later on, I realized that the director should change a lot, should allow the actors to change the lines and everything. So should fight with the scriptwriter, even if they both meet in the same person, you know. So, for instance, in the Christmas Gift, I became more of a director. So I thought that the script is just a pretext for a film, not a text per se. So but then the first experience with, let's say, making a film, which is really a huge thing, but I was looking at the text almost religiously, you know. So that's why I think, in my opinion, it has a bit of it's a bit theatrical. The Half-Shaped, it has something a bit of a commercial. Yes, which, but you know, when you make mistakes, I believe in the virtue of errors. So I learned something from having a barber and a client in just one room. I learned something from that experience, and when I was making the Christmas Gift, I tried to make the opposite, to have this reality feeling, allow the actors to assume the mistakes when they deliver the lines, or to have this shaky camera to kill a bit the theatrical danger, let's say.
Yeah, it's interesting. Then, like, when we'll go chronologically, and as we have at our program, because all the film is highly recommended to our audience to watch. You can watch it at wizartfest.bigshort.com.ua. So the second film that you made, that was the commission, as I understand, by the art museum, about this artistic project in this building.
Yes. It's true, by the Museum of National Contemporary Arts. So it was, this is a different kind of, I don't know if it's a film, but it has a story. But it doesn't have a script. So it was even more interesting. It wasn't planned, so it was made ad hoc. I was one of the artists invited in this exhibition for 1 day, so which was already original. So a house was about to be demolished, and me and some friends, we had this idea that we should mourn the house somehow, sort of like leading the house to the tomb grave. And we organized for one night an exhibition. And then I had this idea, well, let's record this without purpose in mind. Let's keep it on film somehow. And I just called a team, and we shot scraps because we had no plan. So in a sense, it's a real documentary, if you understand. It has no purpose, no plan whatsoever. But then, of course, when you edit the scraps, you have to put together like a puzzle, some pieces, and then you can make a film. So I think that I managed somehow to tell a story in this film.
But from the other hand, it's like from the perspective of architecture, it's a big drama, you know. And as for me, I'm living in Lviv, and we have here a lot of good architecture, and we all the time have the very like tough discussion about like demolishing or reconstructing the old architecture. So the final image when like we have like troubles with connection.
No, I don't.
Oh, okay. So when like the final image when they are destroying the building, it's like I was almost crying, you know. It's like wow, but it's very nice way. This film is very nice way to like memorize the building and to save it in this way to the history. So like in your film Speed. As like this, as you mentioned, like your first script that the film was premiered at 2016. You are touching like the another topic. So I like because as I noticed, you have like two topics in your films. One is like the revolution and like some kind of reflection on the historical context, and then the relationships between people. So that was your try to show these relationships on the edge, and how it was. Did you satisfy with this film and your first script? Because you had a lot of time to rethink and about this, and you already had some experience with the first film.
Yeah, sure. It has a bit of a story, this one. So it was the first script I ever wrote. So, and then someone directed it, and I was completely dissatisfied with the result.
Okay.
Really. So I was thinking I should make a remake or something like this. So it's funny, but I was obsessed. Because it was the first script I've ever wrote. So that's why I had this impression that I could do it better. But in the end, of course, this is one of the errors that I told you, that I think that it was useful to make, but I don't think it was better than the other effort. I think it was I was foolish enough to think that I could do a mix of comedy and action, which is it's a very, very complicated thing. So yes, from all the films I've made, I think that this one I like the least. Yes.
So like on this halfway on your list of your film, I will ask you, like, is it tough to live out of filming as a film director, and in that moment and now, is it your main so you're mostly occupied with your as a director, or you're also working more, you have more commissions as a script writer?
No, I was actually living out of script writing. So I wrote some scripts for television or for an animation made by some friends of mine here in Bucharest, which was really interesting. And I have a bit of a comfort working as a script writer, because I jump from one story to another. So, and I like that very much when it's given the opportunity to do a good script, which turns out to be very, very hardly into a film. That's a sort of a joy I have. So yes, from time to time I work as a scriptwriter for various directors, but now I'm busy with finishing an animation of my own. and then feature and the two shorts which are companions to the Christmas gift. So next year I hope I'll have this omnibus if you want, and then the feature and the animation as well. So it's going to be a busy year.
So like let's talk about the Christmas gift, because like this is the most awarded film. Like the last year it got more than 50 awards. It got the Grand Prix at the Wiz-Art, and of course it got the best short film at the European Film Academy.
Yeah.
So the film is really succeed. Like I heard here last year at the festival a lot of feedbacks from different audience and also from international audience. Like everybody liked it. Everybody got the idea of this film, even if it has like some historical context. So how this idea to write this film and how this story came to you? Is it something like, I don't know, some common story for the Romania in the time, or you just imagine this? How does the idea came of this film?
Yeah. Well, sometimes when you do things I do, imagination and the reality, they tend to mix, because I feed on what was real, but then I filter it into fiction and it becomes imaginary. So I don't know exactly if something I wrote was totally untrue, unreal, or it has a seed of imagination. In this case, I wrote an article some years ago and had this idea of a kid who is wishing for the revolution, but I didn't know how to do it. And one day I had the script clearly in my mind. Really, I don't know how to say it, but it was like that. Like I cannot explain it. I remember I was drinking a beer in a bar. Maybe beer helped. I don't know. But I had this I knew that I had it in mind. So I immediately wrote it in 2 days. And then I won the funding, and then I shot it, and then I because I spent a lot of time in editing, so I spent a lot more time in editing than in shooting the film. I spent like 6 months thinking of the music to end with, of the archives, of all these details that I thought that were very, very important. But funny enough is that years after, when I met my cousin and I showed him the film, he said, you remember that we lived something similar when we were kids. We had a secret alphabet or secret language, and we wished for Ceausescu to die, and our parents found out, and they gave us a kick, quite of a hell of a beating. So I thought that, okay, so maybe the seed of this story was there, and in that memory which I was long forgotten.
So like this, probably this topic is very important in your films. Actually, we know like we have already two films that like some kind of reflection to these historical events, to the revolution in Romania, and also like execution of Ceausescu is probably very important for you, because you experienced it by your own, and do you satisfied with your reflection? Did you like said what satisfied with your message that you put in this film, and do you feel like you already said what you wanted to say about these events? Or because as I know, you're still working on this topic, and your next film is, as I understand, Emergency Exit.
Yes.
It's also about these events.
Yeah, it has 2 other stories which will accompany the Christmas gift. So it's like a triptych, if you want. I'm satisfied, but I don't think that, for instance, the Christmas gift, I don't think that is a film about communism in itself. It's a film about the father and son relationship. So yeah, sure, the context, the background is the fall of communism, but it's not only about that. That's while I think Half Shaved is a bit of a mistake because it is only about that, or somehow it's more about that than about anything else. While A Christmas Gift, I think it's about a family relationship, about this pater familias who becomes a dictator for fearing a dictator, which is in his turn it would be the father of the nation or something like this. So yeah, I'm satisfied, of course, but I think there would, I'm doing a bit more. I will do another films about this period, but not only about communism, but because I think that we will lose very soon all the buildings from that period. So somehow I will hurry and preserve, let's see, my stance, my position on very hard and dark, but with some hints of humor, period of Europe, which is, I would, at least in Romania, is not so sufficiently explored. But I have this impression that communism is or this far left policy is not fully understood. I mean, there are a lot more films about Nazism, a lot more. But people, they don't question this. Why there's another film about Nazi? Okay, so there are like thousands, literally, or even more films about Nazi regime, but not so many about communism. And I think my explanation is that communism has a bit of a aura of a failed but generous system, while Nazism, of course, is not at all generous. It's completely failed from A to Z. But communism still has this appeal that it could have been better. We should give it a try one more time. I think that it's a mistake.
So actually, in Ukraine, we also have still have these discussions, also like these problems with, as you mentioned, with architecture, for instance. But what was the reception of your film, Christmas Gift, in the Romania? So how people react on this?
Because it's a black comedy, it was almost everywhere well received. Because swallowing a candy pill. I mean, like a pill with sugar. So almost everybody liked it. Even though, for instance, some people they tend to disagree with. Of course, they are nostalgics or some, but less and less, to tell the truth. Less and less for communism, but more and more for a possible, let's say, socialism. If yeah.
So, like in all your films, you have the very good and very high-level production design. Do you work with the same team, and how this film industry now is developed in Bucharest and so on? Because you have very nice reconstruction. Even it was 30 years ago, it's not easy to reconstruct all the details in the film.
Yes, I think that we have good technical crew in Bucharest, because they worked a lot on American productions or advertising. So the technicians are very well experienced, sort of, let's say. And yes, I work with the same editor, not with the same director of photography, but with the core of people I work on most of the projects. But I have to say that also I'm pretty much involved, almost obsessively, in the set design, because I really like this. I like it because I think that objects, they have a story in itself. So I'm being passionate about this, and I'm involved in this a lot.
Actually, in your film, you're finishing your film with the archival footage. and we know like that we have much more archival footage on this Ceausescu process. So why you choose like to say it, like to just to show the crowd and how you were working with these archival footage? Maybe you were thinking about some other images and so on, maybe something from the process.
Yeah, sure. At first I was thinking of that, of course, because Ceausescu was there like a secondary character, you know, the hidden character, the dark character, but it was there in the story somehow, so it was present. So of course I had this possibility, and I had the tendency as well to use the archives with Ceausescu being shot for Christmas Day and as a Christmas gift for the nation, let's say, ironically. But then and that's why I told you that I spent 6 months choosing the archives and the music, because I thought it was something that it was my position on the film, my position on what was going on in those times. So I thought it was truly Ceausescu to be blamed, or it was a bit more like the first circle, the secondary, or even like, you know, 2 million party members who said yes to all his crazy propositions. And I thought maybe he was a victim of his madness, but also a victim of his first, the secondary, and the circles of power. Mm-hmm. So I thought I would cut Ceausescu out, because it's not about him. It's about fear. It's about a sick, paranoia regime. So I particularly just picked up only images with crowds, like crowds furious, like waves, you know, like waves unleashed from a gut. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very nice when the film it gives the space for the talk, for the discussion, for some kind of reflection. So it's not like just don't have one point, because there is this not like the controversy is not the right word, but maybe like the space to think about this all this situation, as well as a very personal experience of this child and so on. Okay, let's move on. I'm once again, I want to recommend to our audience to watch your films online at our webpage, because it's your unique chance to see all the films of Bogdan Muresanu. And let's move to your most recent film, which called Merry Go Round. So maybe I will just try to guess if you made it this year during the quarantine or not?
Yes, this is a COVID film. So.
Yeah, I really like that we have it in our program, you know, and all this COVID situation. It's really hard to reflect now, as for me, about the world, about the relations and so on. And I think it's one of my favorite reflection on this situation. So
that's a joy, because this popped out of nowhere. I mean, I was asked by the film festival here, so it's also commissioned. It's Andrei Tănăsescu, which was a curator for a European film festival here in Bucharest, had this idea. Let's like an open call to 20 or 12, I don't know, I can't remember, or 18 directors to make something reflecting this COVID times, the confinement. So so no money, no nothing, but just a reflection. So I had to reflect on what was going on to me at the time, and one of the things which struck me, but later, prior to making the film, was that it was repetition. The days tend to disappear, really. So I didn't know that it was Monday, it was Friday. So now I know it was like a bit like a Marquez, you know, it was like a bit magical realism. It was before the days have names, really. So it was the same day. all the day, which was shrinking the time, but also making it like a huge desert. It was very weird sensation that you had no time, but you also had all the time in the world. So I had this repetition, but with this, and then it was of course one of my favorite themes. It was this relationship between what's going on in a couple, which, and it's a film with 3 takes actually, but in a crescendo with different states, different colors, different, but actually it's the same thing. It's something probably in the past, something a mistake or not, or you can interpret or even at the last one, it gives you this impression that it's out of boredom. It's like a play. It's like Harold Pinter, if you want. They play something, like they play the merry-go-round with snapping each other just to pass the time.
Well, I have to say you are not only very good like scriptwriter and director, but you are also very nice actor, because you are like playing the main character in this your film. So it's also very nice.
I receive well the slaps.
Yeah, so no one has no one others. So but this is also because like it's also came this situation of the relationship from your personal experience, or it was just also like your the script writers and directors' imagination?
No, obviously, I mean, this could happen to anybody, and probably it happened to anybody on this planet. I mean, but no, of course not. It was like you had to do something that was very still, something that is no gesture, minimal gestures, but then one gesture to repeat it, and to like a bolero, or harder and harder and harder with different music. So it was a slap. It was yes, it was, I don't know, the leitmotif, which was very very seemed to be appropriate. So I wasn't slapped recently, if this is what you mean.
So like I really like the idea, and also we're happy that we have here in the program now this film, because we also had a similar commission for the directors in Ukraine, and we are excited to see tomorrow in the program, the special program, Directors on the Quarantine, to see their works and their reflection for this situation. Also, I was involved in April and May in some like documentary project. We were documenting the city. And
sorry, where can I watch it? I want to watch it as well. Is there? I can watch it online as well.
Yeah. Tomorrow we will have at Big Short platform. We will have this program. I will send you a link.
Please, because I think that this is very interesting, because this is cinema without means. Even you cannot shoot, I mean, we were not allowed to shoot outside. So it was like what you could do. It was just yourself. That's why I became an actor, because there was no one around. I mean, like, it was impossible to have a crew bigger than 3-4 people at the time. So that's why I'm interested in the other works of your fellow countrymen. Yes.
So maybe I'll want to develop a little bit more about this year, this strange year, and this quarantine, because once I found on the YouTube that you have the talk at Bucharest about the like calmness, I guess, as a space for the creativity, and maybe
the silence and quietness. Yes, I was.
So, did you have enough silence? Did you have enough silence this year, and how it helped you?
To tell the truth, it helped me a lot, because I'm working on an animation right now, and in this confinement, all the animators were confined back home, so it progressed a lot. So next year I have it done, which was great to me. Otherwise. It's sure. It was a bit of calmness, and you can. There are not only bad things about this confinement, I have to say, or this pandemic. For instance, one of them is we have to take more of care of this planet, which looks like a trash bin, really. So, but some other things, for instance, we don't know exactly when it will end, or when we will be able to shoot again. But let alone, that's just for a small. But one of the one of the good things that happened is that people started to consume a lot of fiction, a lot of art. So now I think art and fiction are more important than ever. But again, the reverse is that the cinemas and theaters are almost sinking. So governments probably should do that. We, of course, should take care of the people who are actually producing fiction and art, because they are not produced by themselves. It's not miracles. The actors should really live on something now. So, and in Romania, yeah, there is a small help for the actors and cinema environment.
Mm-hmm. So, and as a director, do you care about all these online formats and online streaming films? Because, like, from the festival perspective, sometimes it's a little bit hard to have this conversation with the director when somebody wants to have the premiere offline. Someone has like some limit of limiting like geographical area for the film streaming, or some limited number of views for the films. Because I also saw that you had your films and the movie and maybe other online platforms. Did it succeed? And what do you think as a director about this?
I think that you want your films or your creations, like say even their literary products or whatever, to be seen by as many people as possible, or to not as many people, but to establish a dialogue with the world. Because, for instance, with Christmas gift, that was my gift. That was the gift I received. I got to know the world a lot better by showing the film. For instance, I thought that this would be a completely ignored film because people wouldn't understand. And to my surprise, all over the world, they knew a lot more than I thought they would. Really, people, I met people everywhere, and they were, for instance, from South Africa, and their experience was a lot similar. They were whispering during the apartheid regime, and when I heard this, I felt that I've made something important. It was without knowing, of course. It was a dialogue. It was a bridge. I immediately understood how those people in South Africa were feeling back in the apartheid. So yeah, VODs and all the instruments that the modernity we can access. I think they're useful for. It's a dialogue through art. Yeah, some of them are good, some are not so. But in the end, I think they're useful. Yes.
Well, we are approaching to the finish of our streaming and conversation, and I want to ask our online streaming master Ivan about, maybe we have some questions online from the Facebook or from YouTube, the people who are watching us. So if we don't have any question, I hope so, a lot of Ukrainian directors is watching us now, or maybe we will watch the recording of this conversation. So I will ask about some your kitchen and of script writing, and some your hints for the directors, especially with the humor maybe related. So some your secrets.
Oh, right. It's one of the things, for instance, I've noticed while reading some scripts recently, is that they completely lack humor. And while reality doesn't lack humor, in some doses you can find it. I mean, what's humor? Is actually a sort of a tension between what is expected and what is delivered. So, and that could be humorous, and we find it everywhere. So it's everywhere. Look at the politicians, for instance, and they are like walking jokes all over the world now. Right now, politicians. You expect something from them, and what they did deliver is almost like childish behavior. Well, and that's unfortunately humorous, and it's black humor, I think I can say. Yeah, so I tend to have this in the stories. I tend to reflect reality as it is, and it's not always dark, as it is not always white. The more that you mingle these sides, the more real tend to be. So when you laugh with tears in your eyes, or you cry almost laughing, I think it's a more powerful and vivid feeling than either of the two alone. Yeah.
So, like, it was a great pleasure for me to have a talk with you and to have you online. I really hope that you someday, after all this pandemic situation, you will come to Lviv and we will have we will watch your film in the cinema offline. We will see. Please come with your next project and so on. Also, I thank you for being the jury this year at the festival.
Pleasure.
Yeah, and now maybe I'll switch to Ukrainian to ask our audience to watch your films. Тож, дорогі глядачі, дуже дякую вам за те, що дивилися нашу розмову з Богданом Мурешану. Я заохочую вас всіх переглядати фільми на нашій платформі Big Short. Фільми Богдана доступні зараз онлайн, і це ваша унікальна можливість. Фільм, наприклад, «Різдвяний подарунок», Christmas Gift, минулого року виграв Grand-прі фестивалю Wiz-Art, а крім того здобув понад 50 нагород на інших фестивалях. І що важливо, він отримав премію як найкращий короткометражний фільм 2019 року за версією Європейської кіноакадемії. Фільм про дуже близький для нас контекст. So, thank you once again, Bogdan, and see
you next year with the...
Yeah.
Yes.
See you.
See you. Bye-bye.
Bye.